Powered by Virginia Radio.
Hello. And this is, hello. This is Big Al, and thank y'all for coming, because y'all be a whole lot of places y'all decided to be with me, okay? And I appreciate that. Now, this is the podcast, Let Me Say Something. I'm your HNIC, Big Al. Okay, I'm here with the Empress of Finance. It's going to be a great show, which is Miss Candy Curtis E.A. That's a title.
Hello.
All right. Candy, thanks for coming. Appreciate you coming here. And guys, this is something where I really am very excited about, because this is something that we really need in my community. Remember, with Let Me Say Something, it's a podcast where we talk about everything that's concerning Black culture. And this has to do with Black culture, which is finances, taxes, debt, so forth. Don't leave, because you're going to want to hear what she has to say. So, but before we get there, we just want to go over a couple of things and introduce Candy to you guys, okay? And Candy, tell us about yourself there. I know you're an EA, and people say, what is an EA?
All right, sure. So an EA is a federally licensed tax practitioner. I wouldn't necessarily compare it to a CPA, but some of the same functionalities we do share. I am able to represent any taxpayer regarding any tax matter before the IRS, the same as any attorney or even a CPA.
Perfect. You see, y'all, taxes are coming. I hooked y'all up. So y'all listen carefully. I hooked y'all up. All righty. Now, but one quick question though, as far as the CPA. Now, the CPA can handle things like financial matters, accounting matters, etc. How does that differ from the EA?
Okay, sure. So an EA specifically, we are America's tax experts. So what we solely focus on is taxation. Usually what happens is if you have any type of tax matter or anything like that, it's recommended to seek out the services of an enrolled agent versus a CPA, because they typically handle accounting things. And they don't necessarily specialize in taxation, whereas an enrolled agent, we specialize in taxation only.
Okay. So if I get a CPA, or if I'm going to HR block, whatever, am I getting short change because I don't have an EA?
Not necessarily. Some unenrolled practitioners, they do a very good job. Mm-hmm. I was an unenrolled practitioner before seeking out my enrolled agent license. So it's not that you'll get shortchanged, but you do. When you're dealing with your taxes, you want to have the creme de la creme, and we are the cream of the crop when it comes down to taxes.
Okay. Yeah, but where do we find y'all at?
You can visit the IRS.gov website. We are registered there. They have a publication with all of the enrolled agents in the world, actually, because it's not just a national or state credential. You can be an enrolled agent from anywhere in the world. That would be the first place to look for an enrolled practitioner. Okay. IRS website. Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you and I were talking before we got started here. Before the show started, and one of the things that I was saying was that the reason why I'm glad to have this show is because, and when I worked in debt collection, I know you did too. I was shocked at how many people, it didn't matter what the age was, did not understand the link between credit, debt, and how it was affected. They didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there trying to get people to pay their debts, and they just didn't understand what's going on. Well, my car's not there anymore. Yeah, but you got the loan to get the car. Mm-hmm. And because you didn't pay that, that's why they took the car. You just have to pay the loan.
Yes, yes, absolutely right.
So how was your journey to get to where you are?
Oh gosh, where do I start? Okay, so when I was 18, many moons ago, I actually used to be a teller at Chartway Federal Credit Union. That was like one of my first jobs out of high school.
Chartway. Wow.
Yes, yes. So I took interest fairly early on, and I would really see like, whoa, these people are coming in, with their $50,000, $100,000 credit limits, and they're making moves. Like, so I really started paying attention to that. But the truth of the matter is, I had a daughter, and they weren't paying me enough. So I was counting hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, making like $8.50 an hour. And
wow.
So,
wow.
So I'm counting other people's money, and I'm like literally, and I was like, okay, we got to figure something else out. So, like you, I started working for a very large collection agency. I won't say the name. And there, I took a liking to understanding the collections process and seeing how people reacted to collections. I've been hung up on. I've been called all types of names in the book. And that's where I kind of grew my thick skin to be able to help people with any type of financial matter. So I've literally been the collector. I was the one calling people like, pay your bill. And then that prompted me to start my credit repair business as well. So I know both ends of the spectrum.
Well, when we were talking during the week, what you were saying was that there was a situation where I think, do you say something about bankruptcy, abuse?
Yeah.
Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So when I was 19, 20, I ended up filing bankruptcy. I had A1 perfect credit straight out of high school, right? And one of these big banks gave me like a $25,000 credit limit, and so I was being irresponsible. I knew better, right? But I still made a choice to be irresponsible. I allowed someone to borrow money from a particular credit card, and they didn't pay it back. And I couldn't afford to pay it back. And at the same time, my car, the transmission went out. So I had no choice but to file bankruptcy. And I was also in a domestic violence situation. So the only way I knew to get free was to file bankruptcy.
Wow. So. Well, that's it. The person that borrowed the money from you, I'm assuming that was a family member?
Yes.
It's always family, people.
Yes, it is.
It's always family.
Yes.
Okay. And you said the domestic abuse. Okay. How did that push you?
I had no choice but to get out of that particular situation. And I advocate even still today for women to make sure that we are financially sound. My daughter's father, he took care of me primarily, and so he used that as a form of manipulation, along with the physical abuse as well. So I kind of really didn't have a lot, so, and I was in debt because I had let family borrow money, co-sign for people. So I filed bankruptcy.
Co-sign.
Yeah, never co-sign for anybody. And it was just a life lesson. Life lesson. So I was able to get out of that situation and rebuild. I had to rebuild from the ground up. I had a daughter, and it was a process, but I was able to do it, and I'm confident others can do it the same.
Now there are a lot of women that are in the same situation that you were in, but they never recover.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, they get worse.
Yeah.
Okay. In other words, you said you had A1 perfect credit. What is perfect credit?
So it's been years ago. I think like. My credit score was at that time over 700. At the time I filed bankruptcy.
Okay.
Yeah, because I chose the debt was not worth it. I literally could not afford to pay it back. I couldn't afford a garnishment. I had to get out of that situation that I was in. So I filed the bankruptcy, and of course my credit score tanked. I think the lowest it had gotten was like a 380.
Yeah.
It did a number.
How low can it actually get? Because I remember when I was working in debt collection, I saw one that was like 300.
Yeah, 300.
I was like, I didn't know it could go that low.
Yeah, 300. I mean, that's terrible credit, and especially when you have new credit, something like a bankruptcy is detrimental to a credit score. It can get as low as 300, and as high as 800.
Right. Now, first of all, compliments to you for pulling yourself out of what you did, but you moved rather quickly. It's like you had the foresight to do it.
Yes.
And I think you said you were 19 or 20?
Yes.
And now every 19, now I know if I was 19, 20, I wouldn't have had the foresight to do that. You know, I just say, well, whatever, man. Let them catch me. You know, that's what I would have said. You know, but you had the foresight to say, listen, I can't afford this because it's only going to get worse. You know, I know they're going to end up garnishing me. You know, so let me just go. Let me take this bankruptcy. You know, and I'll suffer those 7 years and build back up. So, how did you have the wherewithal to do that? Where did you learn that from?
My mama.
Okay.
My mom and what I learned working in the bank and things like that. And I know my will to succeed. I know I didn't have a choice, and I did it particularly for my daughter. You know, I knew I was going to be a single parent. I knew how difficult it would be to even find a place to live with bad credit, and I did suffer because literally like 2 days after my daughter was born, I was approved for a Section 8 voucher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I almost missed my appointment, and for those of you who get a voucher, you know if you miss that Section 8 appointment, like
For any reason?
for any reason, you lose your voucher. So my daughter came like 2 days early, and I was able to make my Section 8 appointment.
Whoa.
And so I went to the Newport News. It was downtown Newport News, and I got my voucher, and nobody would rent to me because of the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody would rent to me.
Yeah.
And I was broke too, and I had a bankruptcy with the baby, so it was I had to rebuild from scratch. Failure was not an option for me personally.
Okay, now you just pushed through.
Yes.
You know, that's an amazing story. Just so you know, guys, this is powered by Virginia Radio Network. If you want to give us a call, 757-964-9367. And we're here with Candy Curtis, EA. So that's pretty amazing. You were so young to do that. I'm really impressed with that.
Thank you. Yeah, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. You know, I'm not a person that I want to be clear too. Empathy and sympathy are two things that I'm big on, right? And so I can empathize with anybody's situation because I have literally been there. You know, more than likely I've been there. I'm not one to judge you or judge a person because of their circumstances. Like, I'm not a perfect angel. Nobody is. But sympathizing or feeling sorry is not me. It's not within me to feel sorry because I know that if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm like not super special, you know. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. You just have to have.
Don't give her no excuses.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Do what she tells you. Okay. And which reminds me, how do they reach out to you?
Okay. So right now our office is virtual. The best way to reach us, first of all, you can reach me on Facebook. I'm always on Facebook. My page is Candy Curtis EA. Otherwise, our customer service.
That's Candy how?
C with a C. Candy.
Okay. Like the count of candy. Candy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Candy Curtis EA. Alternatively, I can be reached via email at customerservice@maxbacktax.com. Customer service at maxbacktax.com.
MaxBackTax.com.
That's
Okay.
it. We work those numbers.
That's catchy. Okay. All right. And like I said, and once again, guys, this is a treat for me. Tax season is coming. Okay. Everybody got questions about tax. Everyone wants to make some money off tax. Listen, y'all need to support your girl. Support your girl.
Yes,
your girl.
you.
Okay. She's taking the time out of her busy schedule, and believe me, she's busy. Okay, she and I have been texting back and forth all week. Okay, and she's busy, I'm busy, but this is important.
It is.
All right,
this is very important.
This is important. Now, we kind of touched on this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Okay, and I'm not going to use the I word that we used, that Lau and I were using earlier. But have you found that our culture, our black culture, lacks the knowledge of why taxes, credit, debit are important? And if so, why?
I need a minute to think about that. A second. No. I don't think that we lack the knowledge. I think we know very well the importance of these things. And the reason why, in most cases, people know that credit is important because you need credit to do almost everything nowadays.
Yeah, but if your family doesn't have good credit, you've never seen good credit, and they're still getting by, getting cars and apartments and all that, wouldn't that be the lack of knowledge?
I can't say that is a lack of knowledge. I think a lot of people do understand because you have tools like Credit Karma,
No,
right?
you're saying understand. I'm saying knowledge. Yeah, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Okay, so elaborate.
I think everyone understands that you need good credit.
Yes, okay.
But everybody, you know, at the beginning,
right.
Exactly.
I didn't know nothing about credit. My mom
Me too.
Okay.
But see, but that's knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in other words, we
I'm
Isaiah, man, how y'all doing that, man? How y'all doing that? You know.
Oh no. Oh yeah.
But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page as far as I think the entire community understands that there is a place for good credit. You should have good credit, you know. But also, there are comedians that walk around joking about black people not having good credit. They make jokes about it.
Yeah, and it's not funny. In that sense, to me, it's not funny. It's not a laughing matter because firsthand, I can tell you that the things that having good credit can do for you.
Well, let me just interject here real quick. When I say knowledge, what I'm saying is that I've never sat at the kitchen table with my parents and they're like, you know, Alton, as far as credit is concerned, you need to have good credit because it helps me when you want to buy a house, want to buy a car. But I've never had that conversation with my parents at all. They never said that.
Of course, and honestly, my mom never really had that conversation with me either. What my mom told me is to make sure you pay your bills on time, right? And don't ever owe anybody if you don't have to pay your bills on time. But what I can say is most adults, right? Sometimes people, as soon as they turn 18, they're going to go seek a credit card, and on that credit card statement, it tells you what happens if you don't pay this bill. It reports negatively to your credit, and I think that we have enough intellect or enough intelligence to know, hey, I need some money. Let me go out here and get this credit card, and you get a monthly statement in the mail every month, and it tells you what to pay and when to pay it. So I don't feel like even if when you're even as an adult, you can learn how to maintain your credit. It is literally most of the time as simple as paying your bills.
Well, yeah, but something catastrophic has to happen, like it did with you before you started doing that. You know, and I'll tell you the truth, man. When I turned 18, 19, man, I had cards coming out the woodwork, and they said you have a $500, $1,000, $300 limit, and the rest of the payment just went. I read that, boom, me and my plastic were gone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just tell you the truth. I wasn't reading, the monthly statement, but I didn't, man. Please. Exactly. I sold 500. And I was like, what? I'm gone, baby.
But for me, I read that stuff. So I mean,
this loud so is the difference. Yeah, exactly.
So I read it.
Folks, I guess, I'm telling y'all, I'm hooking y'all up. You know, she's different. She's different. She knows what she's talking about.
I read that stuff, and I was like, oh, yeah. I also read the late notices that came in an envelope that said collections, and I'm like, well, what does that mean too? So I can't come from a place and say I really didn't know, because deep down inside I knew, but I also made a decision not to pay it when I didn't pay it. Okay. You know,
I'm gonna push against you a little bit. But I'm thinking, see, you're responsible, man. When I was 18 or 19, man, I'm not even gonna. Please.
No, I wasn't fully responsible. It's not that I'm saying that I was responsible. Because look, as 18 and 19-year-old, remember I filed bankruptcy when I was 19. Mm-hmm. So it's not that I was responsible. It's just that I did what I wanted to do, and I knew the underlying consequences of it, and I still made it.
That's because you read everything.
Yeah, I did read it because I knew, like, it's a credit card. Like, to me, it's like, okay, it's not a debit card. And they send me a bill in the mail that says I have to pay this back. So, if I didn't pay it, I didn't pay it. Like.
Yeah, somebody asked me. It's funny you say debit card. Somebody asked me, "You mean there's a difference between a debit card and a credit card?"
Absolutely.
Like, yes, good God, yes.
Yeah.
And once again, these are the things that I'm trying to get out. These are the things that people need to know about in our community. Because when you don't know the difference between a debit card and a credit card, you don't understand good credit versus bad credit. Those are things that we need to educate our people, in my opinion, people on. You're saying that they do understand, but they just ignoring.
Yes.
I'm saying that they've never been taught.
And I agree with you. However, your past doesn't necessarily dictate your future. dictate your future. Okay, so prime example, and I'll use my own mother as an example. My mom grew up in the projects, in the hood. My grandma never told her anything about credit, nothing about, and this is during the era of, the drug epidemic, right? So my grandma, she didn't teach my mom about finances. But if you make a conscious decision to want to know something, no, you first of all, it builds up your self-confidence, right? So if you know something, then you are more empowered, right? So what my mom did in her particular situation was my mom decided to join the military, which I understand is not for everybody, but my mother is also a doctor as well, right? Coming from a life of living in the projects, nobody taught her this. My grandmother didn't necessarily teach her everything that she needed to know in life. But when a person makes a conscious decision to want to change themselves, they can do it. And I fully believe that. You don't have to know everything, right? So that's not to say that you need to know everything about credit, but you should know the basics. You know that if you don't pay your light bill on time, you're going to get a collection notice. They're going to cut your lights off. It's the same. It's similar with credit, right? If you don't pay what you borrowed back, it's going to negatively impact you. And when you go to look for, buy things, they're going to bring it up. They're going to bring it up like, well, you didn't pay this $500 credit card bill, so we'll lend you, but at a really high interest rate.
Yeah, that's another thing too. The interest rate. People don't realize that with bad credit, you're going to pay more.
Yes.
Eventually, than that person that has good credit for the same amount of money.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous, but it's true.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And speaking of credit, though, what is good credit? What is bad credit? The difference, and how do we get there?
Okay, so the first thing, good credit, is really, so the credit, and I'll share this information with you, right? So good credit for an 18-year-old, is not going to be necessarily considered good credit for an experienced person who have more life experiences, who have more transactions or trade lines on their account. So good credit for a 18-year-old may be a 650, 680 credit score, somewhere around those lines, right? Because you haven't had anything. You just turned 18. You haven't established any credit. And so to get good credit, it literally starts with paying your bills on time, not overextending yourself, and only borrowing what you can afford to pay back. That's the first thing. The credit companies, the credit card companies, the lenders, their primary goal is to make money every time you swipe that card. They do. Yeah. They get an interchange fee, right? So every time you swipe that Visa card, they get paid, right? So if you don't pay it, you just don't pay it, right? They're just going to let everybody else know you don't pay your bills on time, but they've made their money every time you swipe that debit card. So, paying the bills on time, but again, primarily not overextending, because they will give you a credit line based on your income, but that credit line doesn't mean that, hey, I got a $1,000 credit limit, let me go spend this whole $1,000. That's not what it's for. So you use between 1% and 3% of the credit limit. All right, that's how you optimize your points with the FICO scoring model. So just 1% to 3% of the credit limit, and you make small minimum payments every month until you pay it off. That's it. Okay. And if you have something that shows up in the mail that you're not, you may not be familiar with, or you let slide, rectify it as soon as possible.
Such as example,
like a collection notice, right? Those. Okay. The done-in letters. Right, so if you get a letter from a collection agency and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I don't remember this, right? So you can call. You have rights as a consumer. You can actually don't call. I take that back. You don't want to call the collection agency, right? You want to put it in writing. Why you may feel that this is not yours, but we have rights as consumers too. So use those rights to your advantage.
It's interesting. When I worked at the collection agency, she's right. You guys, you have more rights than you think you do. Most people don't know it, and they don't use them. Okay. Whenever you, and I'm gonna say this because I used to work there. Whenever you deal with a collection agency, always write in. Okay,
Absolutely
whether
right.
there's an email, whether there's an actual typed letter, whatever the case may be, always write in so and make sure you keep a copy of what you send in.
Absolutely. And I want to follow up with that. One of the reasons why is consumers' rights are violated all the time, and we
Yeah.
are very unaware of it. And so, for example, if a collection agency sends you a collection notice, but they don't put on there that this is an attempt to collect a debt, right? You should immediately consult an FCRA or FDCPA attorney.
Well, no,
If
explain what that is.
they are an attorney who specializes in collection stuff, right? To make
Okay.
sure that the collection agency is following the law, because for for a violation, that's $1,000, right? So not only can they a lot of times get you a check for each violation, but they can also help that debt probably go away too. And let me tell you guys this. With the word attorney, I've had people say, well, I can't afford an attorney. Most of the time, the attorney will do it for free because the collection agency has to pay the legal fees. So knowing your consumer rights can literally make you wealthy. I referred one to an attorney, and it was some crazy stuff going on. The debt really didn't belong to the person. They kept disputing it. The collection agency kept hounding them, and they got a $250,000 settlement just for that.
And another thing too is that the courts hate debt collection companies. The courts hate debt collection companies. The debt collection companies almost could never win.
Yep.
If it goes as far as court, the debt collection company almost never wins. This is why they never want to get to court. They'll threaten you with court.
Yeah.
They'll talk about court. But if you take them there, chances are they're going to lose and you will win. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have to have your stuff together. You can't just show up. You got to have the paperwork and all that stuff. But basically the courts, and I'm telling you from experience, they don't want to. The courts do not want to see a debt collection company in their court.
Right, and it's expensive. It's expensive to bring a consumer to court. So, I mean, there's other options too, like arbitration, but I'll save that for another day. But most of the time, you could request that the collection agency or even credit card company or any major company that you're having a dispute with participate in an arbitration with you before it even gets to court.
Okay. Another day, so you're going to be coming back. Huh?
Maybe. Well, I think so. I think so.
Okay. I've been trying to get her to come back. She's like, well, I'm so busy. I don't know.
Yeah.
And all week long she's been sending me messages like that. I'm like, well, let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes, Kenny. You got about an hour and 15, maybe. Then people start shirting off.
Yeah.
But if we can get her to come back, I promise you we'll get you more information for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what are the common mistakes that customers make with their taxes, with their money? What are the common mistakes that they make?
One of the things that I notice, and it's been a trend when it comes to taxes, is not keeping the appropriate paperwork, right? And that is one thing that the IRS knows. It's literally in our manuals that it says, like, we know when people do their taxes on their own that they're likely to omit something. And so as practitioners, we have to hammer into the customers, keep your documentation. If you don't have documentation, it never happened. So that's the biggest
from our
thing.
end didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it really did happen, even if it really did happen, for example, small business owners, I see that particularly a lot, where we get in a hustle mentality, and I'm a hustler too, so I completely understand. And we get into the mode of hustling and in our everyday lives, and then before you know it, we've misplaced a receipt. We haven't been able to keep track of our books. We don't do it, and then what we'll say is, "Oh yeah, I'll do it at the end of the year," right?
Right.
But by the time the end of the year comes, you're like, "Oh, I didn't have time to do it, or I lost this. I don't have it. I didn't keep my receipts." So you need to keep receipts. The IRS, let me say this first and foremost, they're not particularly your friends, right? As a lot of the information that that people like myself, when we get on these type of platforms to share, is not necessarily for the general public to know. It is information for people who have the finances to afford it, to hire somebody to do these things for them. So I want to make sure that people understand, even as a taxpayer, you have taxpayer rights, but keep your documentation, right? Keep your documentation, and seek out the assistance of a practitioner. Because what ends up happening too is, you go 2-3 years without filing, the IRS can file for you, and they're not going to give you the deductions that you may otherwise have qualified for. They're not going to just give them to you. They're just going to do a basic return, and then you probably will end up owing.
Yeah, I know that for a fact. I know that for a fact. Okay? And my return was done so badly, and I was thinking, wait a minute, I'm supposed to get it back like $2,500, somewhere right around there. I ended up owing like $750, and there was nothing I could do about it except pay it.
Oh yeah,
but that's
yeah.
okay. That's the IRS. I said, well, I learned from that.
Actually, there was something you could have done about it, but
There
we'll
was.
talk about that.
Okay, it was what?
Yeah. It's always something that can be done.
Yeah,
Most of the time.
Yeah, well, when I called and asked them, it was like, oh no.
Yeah, of
No,
course
no,
it would.
no.
And that's another thing. People ask me all the time too, like, how do I get in contact with the IRS? I'm like, you're gonna be waiting on hold majority of the time, and they hire people like with no experience, even down to the auditors. Right, a lot of times these are new people. They maybe came in through a quick process or whatever, but they're not experienced. You're talking to a customer service person, and you as a taxpayer may know more than they know.
Yep.
Yeah. So seek out a professional.
So right now, the situation with the IRS though is that they're trying to hire more people. In other words, they lost a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
They still haven't replaced everyone that they've lost, is my understanding. So the people that you're going to be talking to in the IRS are going to be, just like Candy said, inexperienced, deer in headlights kind of people. And so just make sure you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed if you have to call the IRS.
Absolutely.
Now, on taxes, what are some of the things that we miss on taxes?
Oh, deductions galore. Most of the time, people don't take their deductions. As well as planning. A lot of people miss the opportunity to plan for the future years. So deductions, clothing, meals, those are just some of the basics that people miss by not keeping receipts. Yeah, keep your receipts. Now, me personally. It's not my favorite thing to do to count receipts, right? Because it's not my favorite thing to do. I do have bookkeepers. We have a team of bookkeepers,
right.
And if you keep your receipts, then we can match it to the transaction. You're able to make a note as to what this transaction was for. But you miss a lot when you don't keep records because you don't know. There's no way. I don't even remember sometimes like what I ate for dinner the night before.
Okay.
So you need to write it down. Write it down.
Okay, and there are things that you can do, like clothing.
Clothes, food, mileage. Oh, mileage is a big one. So it's up to like 62.5 cents per mile that the IRS. Yeah, they'll. So it's like a reimbursement. You can take the deduction for mileage. And is a large amount, right? But most people don't keep a mileage log. You do all of this business traveling and stuff, and you can get almost paid back almost $1 for every mile you drive.
So if you're a Lyft driver or a Uber driver or something like that, you should be keeping your mileage.
You should be keeping your mileage. Any type of business that you conduct, you should be keeping mileage, especially for those of us who are customer facing. When you go to meet a customer, make sure that you are keeping up with your mileage. When you go to a restaurant to meet with a potential client or a client, make sure that you are keeping a adequate mileage log, because that can help save you in a lot of cases from not owing tax.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. By the time you take your deductions, a lot of time you shouldn't owe anything, but the proof is in the pudding.
In other words, keep the receipts.
Yes, keep the receipts. Keep everything. Keep a log.
But if I write down mileage, how do you verify it's the correct mileage?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not my job to verify that. So I'm not an auditor, so I'm not going to verify and oh yeah, you're not telling the truth here. That's not my job.
Okay.
But
so
the
IRS. That's only if I get audited is where.
Yes. Now if you get audited, what the IRS wants to see is a conspicuous record of the mileage that you drove, like the odometer reading, where you started, where you ended, what was the purpose of the trip. That's what they want to see if you were to get audited. And audits do happen. It can happen to anybody.
Okay.
It's not just like if you take this deduction, you're going to get audited. You can get audited for anything.
Okay. Yeah. Now years ago, there was a black woman, who was going around the country saying that you don't have to pay taxes. paying taxes is not in the Constitution. Therefore, to pay taxes is illegal. And she had a big old business on, and she talked to everybody about it. People came to her, and they said, and they went to court, saying we're not paying taxes, et cetera, et cetera. And somehow they got off, but she went to jail.
Yes, yeah. Well, if she was any type of practitioner, you can't tell people that because
she was formerly with the IRS.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Yeah, so she would have lost her license, and they probably didn't get in trouble because if she was working for the IRS, then they relied on the advice of a practitioner. So therefore, the IRS, kind of have.
That's how they put her in jail. I was wondering how they put her in jail.
Yeah, you can't tell people that, and there's some people who say that even to me now, and we have conversations with people like that. But if more than likely, once it gets to the court, they're gonna say that it's not true. You have to pay tax, and they're gonna assess the tax. They're gonna assess the penalties.
No, I realize that,
everything you own.
There's not anything in the Constitution, or Magna Carta, or anything that says you have to pay tax. There's nothing written that says you have to pay taxes. Not a darn thing.
Right.
Okay, but we pay taxes. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing written that says we have to.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But if you don't pay it, you can get some serious trouble.
Right. Well, this is the thing, though, right? If you don't want to pay taxes, denounce your citizenship and leave the United States of America.
Uh-oh.
No.
Laos said, get yourself a non-profit organization.
No, that's not the right way to do it. That's tax evasion, and that's how people get caught doing things like that's how they get caught. When you like a nonprofit, yes, they don't pay taxes, but you have to give back. You have to have a mission, and you have to give it. You have to give it, and the IRS audits those at a high level. They monitor those because people use them as a legal tax shelter, so it's not a good idea. Pay.
But they don't pay taxes though.
They don't.
Right. So
Yeah.
It's not a problem if you don't want to pay taxes.
No.
But you got to be a functioning nonprofit though. You have to, right. I can't be Big Al nonprofit and then everything goes to me, baby. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, no, they make money, man. What you talking?
Look at the Goodwill. The Goodwill is a prime example.
They make tons of money.
They are.
But you're selling merchandise.
Yeah.
They are taking donations.
They also take donations. That's very true. But it also depends on if you're trying to use it as a tax shelter. Trust me, the IRS will catch on to that really fast. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Now speaking of the IRS though, Joe Biden, outside of destroying my financial security, my money, he's letting the IRS loose, saying they're going to collect aggressively, is what he's announcing. And now his administration is getting pushback. He's acting like he doesn't understand why, because he's saying he never said that. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so how would for the IRS to take an aggressive stance, how would that? And the guy that's running the IRS, he's talking big talk.
Yeah. They just hired a lot of people too. They just hired a lot of people.
Yeah.
You have to remember that IRS is a collections agency.
The biggest in the world.
Yes, they are a collections agency, so their job is to collect tax. And the reality of the situation is that the middle class typically pays the most tax, and they try to skirt taxes. A lot of times we don't pay enough into tax, right? So first of all, there's legal loopholes that you can use to make sure that you are not overpaying Uncle Sam. And you definitely don't want to overpay, but you do have to pay your fair share. I have seen many instances where people go exempt. For example, they'll go exempt, not have any taxes withheld from their paycheck, and then the IRS sends a letter to their HR and says, tax them like no deductions, no exemptions, no nothing, and they'll take out the max that they can for your tax bracket. Shipyard workers, hint, hint, y'all don't do that.
see, okay. Y'all need to come out. Y'all need to talk to Candy. Y'all need to talk to Candy, okay? I'm telling you, Candy Curtis EA.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm here to help.
The Empress of Finance.
Yes, thank you.
The person that knows all there is about taxes that can help you.
Yes,
before you start trying to help yourself. Trust me, she's better than what you are. Okay?
And I like to work with my customers, I believe in educating and informing them and telling them like, hey girl or hey dude, you know, like, look, this is what you can write off. This is what you need to do. You know, start a business. Like, you know, you can take your deductions against your income. So that's another thing. I live for a business.
Okay.
Like, everybody should have one. I know it sounds cliche and people have heard it a lot, but everybody should have a business.
Yeah, no, okay. Now you're not gonna say anything that's gonna get you in trouble.
No, not at all.
Okay, just
Not
want to
at
make sure.
all.
Just want to make
Not
sure.
at
You
all.
know, I will feel very guilty about that.
No, not at all. I mean, it's the truth, right? So anybody can have a business. It doesn't matter your background.
I've had two.
Yes, and I've had plenty. So anybody can have a business, and you can have as many businesses as you like to have. There's no limit on the amount of businesses you can have.
Okay.
So have as many as your heart desires.
When you say business, you're talking about LLCs?
LLCs, sole proprietorships, S corps, C corps, partnerships, whatever.
Okay.
The easiest one though to get started, and most people start off as sole proprietors. Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. Like, have a business. The worst that can happen is that you don't get any customers, right?
Right.
That's the worst that can happen. The best thing that can happen is your business takes off.
Right.
But if you don't put yourself in the position for either or, you're missing out.
Okay.
You're missing out.
And if you do start a business, make sure you keep copious records.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Keep records of everything. All righty. I know one person told me what she told me was she said, listen, keep records of everything, and we'll tell you how you need to pare it down. But
How about if you like do a business call
for everything, elaborate, because that could be a long, drawn out answer. But I won't. What do you mean? Elaborate.
everything that you're spending?
Mm.
So if you pay your bills, you pay it all with business calls.
Oh yeah, that's what you should do. It is. It is a transaction. The thing is commingling. You have to be very careful with commingling, right? Commingling your funds.
that means that you swipe it for your business, and then you go get KFC.
Exactly.
And you swipe it for KFC. So
you don't want to do that. Now, if you were going to KFC and you were meeting Candy to discuss your business, right, and you were treating me to a chicken biscuit or whatever, and we were, maybe working on a barter agreement for services or something like that. Oh, that's a tax, right?
No one needs to know that she doesn't eat meat, but yeah, okay.
Well, a biscuit or whatever. Then that's a tax write-off. But you definitely want to keep your transactions separate. But in the event of an audit, right, one of the things the auditor is likely going to say is, hey, show me your business transactions. And you don't want to commingle, like, you don't want to, like, spend personal money from your business checking account and vice versa. Yeah, so careful with that. If you have a business checking account, and a lot of times you can open up a free business checking account too.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no reason to commingle.
So in other words, when you say commingle, you shouldn't commingle the business account, personal account. You should keep them separate, including the money separate.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. One account for the business, one account for the money.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and then use it, and remember, one of the IRS says that any expense that is ordinary and necessary to your business can be a write-off. And you determine what is ordinary and necessary for your business.
Now, folks, we're not going to get too deep into this because people pay for this information.
Yes.
Okay? and Candy's all about the business, but she's all about helping as well. So So I promised her that we wouldn't get too deep into certain things because people actually pay for this information that you're getting. Man, I'm telling you, I'm hooking y'all up. Me, powered by Virginia Loud, we're hooking y'all up, man. So y'all need to take advantage of this. This is a show that you need to send to other people. If you're watching this show, if you get this show, send it to others, share it, and keep sharing it and keep sharing it. Okay? And make sure that you contact Candy Curtis EA. You can contact her where?
Facebook. Preferably, okay. I'm not too good with social media, but you can reach me on my Facebook page is Candy Curtis with a C, EA. That's my Facebook page. Or you can reach me through email at customerservice@maxbacktax.com.
Say that one more time.
Customer service at maxbacktax.com.
Maxback. Customer service at Max MAX.
Yeah, back.
BACK.
Yes.
Tax TAE.
TAX.
Excuse me. .com.
That's it.
Okay. Gmail address. Email address?
That is the email address.
Okay.
Yep. Customer service at maxbacktax.com.
Maxbacktax.com. Okay. Well, I know you're gonna be hearing from me.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I got some taxes that need to be done. I haven't done that.
Yes. Yeah. File those taxes, you guys. Even if you have to get on a payment plan, like don't be afraid of the IRS. You know, people like they're this big, huge government agency.
I gotta tell you, the only problem I have with IRS, I've had a lot of problems with IRS. But
okay.
the main thing I've had is consistency. Because you call one person on Wednesday, call again on Friday. It's two different things.
What did we talk about a few minutes ago? That's what I explained to you. That these are people who may know more than they know about their own job. They're just customer service reps. So an enrolled agent, like myself, we're the ones you need to talk to.
Okay, so you
and let us call customer service.
You call them and take
Actually, we probably won't call. We would like fill out a form. We'll do like represent you. You give us permission to work with the IRS on your behalf. We don't necessarily like calling the IRS either because what you just said does happen in real life.
You stay on the phone for
forever,
45 minutes waiting.
Forever.
They go, well, hold on for a second. You get somebody. Oh, thank God. Yes. Well, hold on. Click.
But we have a practitioner line. We have a line that's specifically for practitioners, so we can get through. You know, we still have a wait sometimes, but we can get through fairly quickly, and we have other means of communicating with the IRS other than phone calls.
In other words, they have more ways than you have.
Yeah.
To contact the IRS.
Yeah.
And their calls are priority.
Yes.
Okay, they'll listen to an EA or a CPA before they listen to you or me.
Right.
All righty?
Yeah.
Spend the money and get an EA or a CPA to handle your tax business because I'm going to be doing that shortly.
And it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it to keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, keeps you out of trouble.
Enrolled agent. Yeah. So, got to take that.
Now, the difference is that the enrolled agent specializes in taxes, whereas the CPA, they do taxes plus finances and all that other stuff. But an EA just handles taxes.
Yep.
That's what the EA is for on your Facebook.
Yeah, enrolled agent.
Enrolled agent.
Yeah, I studied hard for that test.
Yeah,
my gosh.
It's a 3-part test, by the way.
Thank you.
I know you thought it was a video game. I got you.
EA Sports.
EA Sports. EA Sports.
No.
Yeah.
Enrolled agent. Enrolled with the IRS.
Listen, y'all. I have been blessed to have Candy here with us. Candy Curtis, EA. Okay, all of this is important, and I want you to understand that it is important. I want you to go out there and do your taxes. Okay, I want you to listen to and do them professionally. And here in the Black community, okay, I'm on a mission for us to get financially solvent. Because a lot of times I don't want to be too harsh. But sometimes when you see the bad all the time, it's hard to look at the good. But I've seen too many people that have taken money and done things with it they shouldn't have. I've seen too many people mess up their credit when they didn't need to do so. Okay, now everybody's not gonna be like Candy. I know I wasn't when I was 19. Okay, and I didn't think that far ahead, man. I said I was in college and they sent me like 3 credit cards. I had a total balance of $2,000. No, $2,500. Shame on them. Okay. So I thought.
Right, why would they send you a credit card? Like
exactly. I was like, and I was going on campus. Hey, baby. I know you want to get something to eat, don't you?
Right. Swipe that card. That card. And look, real quick, benefits of good credit too, right? So I used to work at Capital One. So I want to share this with you all. And listen, take it how you want it, right? So I am all about financial literacy. I want to make sure that we have the best foot forward when it comes to finances and taking back our power because money makes the world go round. Right. And so when I worked at Capital One, I was in this department, right? It's like the low level customer service. And so like they would tell us literally, hey, don't waive a late fee. I mean, if somebody gets rude with you, like you can put them on hold and transfer to a supervisor. I mean, it takes forever to get a supervisor. And they kind of left it to us, to our discretion on how we handled the call. Okay. And primarily young people calling, you better waive my late fee, and I'm a customer at Capital One, and that really didn't get anywhere with me personally, right? Because you don't talk to me like you got some sense, first of all. And so, but when I went to the other department, it was another department called Heavy Spend, where we dealt with credit limits like $20,000 up, right? And there we had to provide white glove customer service. It was a difference in
So
how we
they
treated.
so they can say anything when they can say anything to you,
Yeah.
and you're like, I understand, sir.
Yep, exactly. White glove. Oh, how many late fees did you need to have waived?
Really?
20? Oh, no problem. Okay, and did you want to cash in your rewards for that trip to Paris? Like that's how they
Wow.
that's how we were trained to treat the people.
You sound like my maid. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry about that, but how can I help
Yeah,
you?
yeah, customer service, exactly. But that's the difference between, how people are treated with bad credit and how people are treated with good credit.
And you probably would say, well, that's not fair. Well,
not.
I'm not saying it is fair. Candy's saying, I'm saying that's just the way it is.
Yes, it is.
That's just the way it is. When I worked at a debt collection agency, you had better not talk to me out the side of your mouth. You had better not, because you have nothing to hold on to.
Right.
Your credit's bad. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
You need to talk to me when you got some sense.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's right.
Because otherwise, I got a button here and I can do whatever, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Oh, especially the ones that are in statute of limitations. Like, you're going to cut me out and you owe this bill? Like, and it's within the statute of limitations. I will send it over to legal.
And some of y'all got like 4 different levels. We got 4 different levels in debt collection. And when you get to that 4th level, which means that it's gone to an attorney, once it goes to an attorney, there's nothing that can actually be done. Okay? So some of you come to that 3rd thing where just before, the attorney is about, let's say 8 days away. And y'all acting crazy. Okay? And I know for a fact, because I'm looking right at it, that in 8 days it's going to go to the attorney, and the attorney's going to contact you, etc. And you're out there yelling at people at me saying you don't owe this bill, and so on and so forth and so forth. Okay? I'm saying all this to say, folks, it's your debt. Okay? It's your responsibility. When you call in to speak to a debt collection agency, which I definitely don't recommend, but if you do call in to do that, it's not, they had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with your debt. Okay? And there are a lot of people that touched that before I did. Okay? That got you to where you are. And, so I understand. I understand being upset. I get that because it stops you from doing certain things. But I had nothing to do with that.
Right.
So when you have debt, the main thing you want to do is like what Candy said, is to take care of that debt, settle the debt, fix it. And when you take and Candy, you jump in anytime you want. But when you're taking care of that debt, always put it in writing. Keep a copy for yourself.
Absolutely.
And send it off and send it and write down the date that you sent it. Okay. Because I'm gonna ask you, what date did you send that? And I don't know, last week, 2 months ago,
right.
January. But we never got it. We never received it.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of that going around.
Absolutely. Yeah, take care of it. Take care of your bills, you guys. Treat your credit the same way. Like I tell people all the time, you have to nurture your credit the same way you nurture a child. It should be your baby. You should love and respect your credit. I love my credit. I have seen a 380 and I have seen a 799.
Yeah.
So I love my credit. I love my credit, and I don't co-sign for anybody. Don't ask. No, the answer is no.
And I don't care if it's a family member.
Yep.
I don't
those are
care.
worse.
I don't care if that person rolled off on you this morning. Okay. Don't be co-signing nobody, nothing. I got 4 kids. I told all my kids, don't
That's
you
right.
co-sign.
That's right.
And I'm telling them this side, don't co-sign. Don't co-sign.
Right.
My
mama told me no when I was down. Right. I called my mom and I said, "Mom, I need a card." They asking for a cosign. And she told me no. And you know what I did? I took my refund check that year and I went to the auction and bought me a Mazda 626. And that Mazda 626 lasted me for 6 months. It lasted me for a year and a half.
I would have never done that.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. And I'm not. Yeah, it makes you become resourceful and do what you got to do. And I respect my mom for that. Like. She never told me yes all the time,
But see, as you can tell, Candy's mind works different. Now, would any of y'all thought that back in the day when y'all were teenagers? No.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have. First of all, I didn't get no refund. That's the first thing. Okay.
Well, I had a baby. I had a kid, so I had my daughter at the time.
Okay.
And remember, I was in that situation, and I had to.
I don't know what time frame we're talking about.
Well, I had filed the bankruptcy, so I had to give back my car that I had, and I was like, "My credit is bad, Mom. Can you co-sign for me?" And she was like, "Your credit already bad. What I look like co-sign?" No. So, and I respect that, and the more the older I got, I started to understand, I understand why she did it, and I had to be resourceful. I took the money, went to the auction. I think it was in Norfolk on Military Highway at the time, and got me a car. Yeah, I got a car free and clear, and it lasts me from I could get to point A to point B, and I was okay. Like
and once again, that's creative thinking. That's great. That's creative thinking. And you really seriously, that's great. No, how many single mothers are going to think, hey, listen, I got first of all, when you go bankruptcy, you don't realize that you got a car note, and then if you go bankruptcy, you got to turn the car in because you get, et cetera. If you put the car note down, you put the car note down, you got to turn the car in.
Yes.
If you go bankruptcy, okay, you can't just keep driving around the car like some of y'all keep trying to do.
That's so true.
Okay,
that's so true.
So y'all be putting down, I'm bankruptcy. Oh man, y'all be signing up, my car, my this.
They'll come repo it too.
And then y'all be parking 3 blocks over so they get repo.
And stuff.
You gotta turn the car in too. You can't just.
They want their collateral. They want their collateral back.
Because you're not paying that car note.
Yep. And even when I worked at the repo company, remember I was telling you about it, they went out of business. Like they would file police reports if you hit the car when it was out for repo.
Right.
If they would go file it, they would put it as stolen because it's their collateral, right? So you don't want to hide.
Car.
Yes, it's their car, and you don't want to hide the car. Just like give it back, do what you're supposed to do.
Don't tell the police I gave it back already.
Yeah, just do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Do what you gotta do. Ducking and dodging, that's not a comfortable life to live. Always gotta, watch over your shoulders. You want to be free. You want to be financially free. You don't want anybody, always over your shoulder. Like I enjoy not having to owe anybody anything. And I enjoy not having to receive collection calls and having my peace disrupted.
Exactly.
And I worked hard to get here, but it can be done. Like I said, I'm from Portsmouth. Like I'm just an average girl. I don't consider myself anything special. Single mom before I'm married now, but I've been a single mom before. So if, like I said, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
And she's right about that. And like I said, guys, there was a time in our community where we had the best credit.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time in our community before, I think it was before 1960, 62, somewhere right around there, where if you go by credit and so forth, credit was just coming around then, but black folks had the best credit.
Mm-hmm. Buying houses.
Okay, we were buying houses. Mm-hmm. It was a hard time for those houses.
Yeah.
But we were buying houses, and as a community, we knew that we had to save our money. We knew we had to pool our resources together. We knew we had to have good credit, et cetera, because we knew it was us against them.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a time where in our community, we had the best credit. We saved, based on the money that we made, we saved the most money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There was a time when we worked as a community. Okay? If I had a house, then we worked to make sure that Candy got a house.
Mm-hmm.
Then we worked to make sure that Loud got a house. We don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And we want to get back to, so if we don't do that, so what do? We learn all we can about taxes, about credit, about how to build resources.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's why we have Candy Curtis on here today, and hopefully we can have her back at some point. I'm gonna try to talk into coming on for appearing regularly. Maybe once a month. He's like, I'm just so busy. Oh my God. I would talk to her. We'll talk to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to take back our power, you guys. Like, I'm no hypocrite. Like I said, I haven't always been a perfect angel. I have been through some things, and I can speak from experience. A lot of people out here, credit gurus, tax gurus, they ain't never been through nothing. They couldn't even tell you the basics of the basics, right?
And remember, Candy's she's not saying that, hey, I graduated from Stanford,
right,
blah, 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 I'm going for a PhD, but she's not saying any of that stuff. Regular person just like you and me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just have a passion for seeing our people take our power back.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have to take our power back. Enough is enough.
So with that, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to ask Loud to play the music before we go. You have any final word for us, Miss Candy Curtis, EA Empress?
Yes, you guys. Yes. So starting today, take a pledge. You owe it to yourself to become financially literate. And and you don't necessarily have to pay someone to help you do these things. There are free resources you can Google. You can start there. You can start with some YouTube videos, and but at the same time, don't always expect free information. You have to invest time, sometimes money, but find out what you can, because you don't want to always be walking around the person who don't ever know anything. So take it upon yourself from this day forward to be a good steward over your finances, be a good steward over your money, and be intentional with your goals.
What we want to do is we want to stop the generational curse.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we have family after family, generation after generation, being poverty. Bad credit, don't pay taxes, running from the government, running from everybody. We want to stop all that, and the only way we can stop that is with the knowledge that someone like Candy Curtis has. Okay, so listen, guys. Give her a call, write her, whatever the case may be. Because I know I am. And let's go ahead and get ourselves together. Okay. Listen, I want to thank y'all for coming by. I want to thank y'all for taking the time, because y'all could have been anywhere, but instead you decided to spend time with Big Al, the HNIC.
Yes.
And my now good friend, Candy Curtis EA.
Yes.
And matter of fact, we've been texting so much, I feel like I already know you.
Yes.
But I feel like, slow down, Candy, slow down. Easy, okay.
It's just so much I have to say. I gotta get it all out. And people gotta know this stuff, man.
Yeah.
I gotta tell the truth.
And then she goes, I think I want to be about an hour. I'm like, okay, yeah, all righty.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, thank y'all. Okay, loud hit the music, folks. We are out of here. Love y'all, and okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Powered by Virginia.